In this video, I'm going to show you how to resolve conflict with your wife or girlfriend. Now, most conflicts don't ever get resolved. They just keep getting pushed under the rug just to be rehashed at a later date. Like she'll never let something go. It keeps coming up over and over and over again. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to resolve conflicts permanently so it doesn't keep coming up again. So your woman's fighting with you, right? She's coming at you. There's something that she needs to have resolved, or maybe she's just angry, she's venting, and she's trying to pick on you. It doesn't really matter what the subject is. What really matters is how do we get to the resolution of this conflict? How do we lead her from a state of being angry and upset to a place of calm, loving desire? The first thing you want to do is simple. Just be present. In other words, when she's airing her grievances, don't get all upset, don't start deflecting, don't start reacting in an emotional way. Just watch her. Just look at her and be fully present. Now, being fully present means don't just stand here like a robot staring at her. What it means is actually start opening up and engaging, like emotionally. Okay, like where's she coming from with this? And don't take this personally. You're going to go into this game of responding. You're going to want to deflect. You're going to want to justify why you did whatever it is. And maybe you'll even try to correct her. You'll try to tell her how things are. You'll try to correct the record. And we don't want to do this because it's not going to get to the resolution. First, we have to get through her emotional state. And then we have to get to the root of what's going on. And then from that root, we can then come into a solution. And so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to get real basic, really basic, is just be present and open. Open to receive whatever she's given you. So you might say, Ed, how do I keep myself open to this when she's throwing all this shit my way? Well, just because she's throwing it at you doesn't mean it has to latch on to you. Just see the moment that she's having and just allow her to have that moment. And don't take it personal. Now, the second step is you start asking her questions. So she may be laying into you, saying a whole bunch of stuff. Just let her keep going and going and going. And when there's an opening, you ask her, well, what's going on? How did that make you feel? Why is this going on within you? So in other words, if you did something wrong, and you know you did something wrong, like say you forgot to do homework with the kids, say, you're going to agree and then acknowledge or amplify what it is she says. Like, yeah, I can see that really infuriates you. That must be maddening having to deal with that. And you might be saying, Ed, well, if it's a homework, then the solution is just make sure you do the fucking homework with the kids. Yes, that's true. But unless she sees that you understand this on a deep emotional level, she's not going to trust that you're going to do it next time. So the whole point is to get to a resolution in the conflict that's permanent. We have to get through the emotional response first before we get to the solution. When this is happening, and she's saying, hey, I need you to take care of this with the kids. You didn't do it. I understand. You're right. I didn't do it. How does that make you feel? And what does that mean to you? Like, how does that make you feel? And how does that make you feel? And you just keep going on this line of questioning until you get to the root of it. The root of it's going to be something like, I don't feel appreciated in this house. I feel like I'm the only one who really wants to parent these kids. I feel like I'm all alone and isolated. I feel like you don't really want to be present as a father. I feel like your work is more important than us. I feel like you don't really care about us. I'm just somebody here to help you clean and cook and do everything else for you so you don't have to do it. I feel like a maid. I feel like a servant. I don't feel like I have value. I don't feel like you matter to me. I don't feel like the kids matter to you, right? We're going to get to the root of these things, and you'll start hearing her say these things. And when she does, you say, I can see how you would say that. I can see that you feel that way. I can see this, and I can see that you don't, that must be very hard for you, right? So then you acknowledge, agree with it, amplify it a little bit. This way she knows that you heard what she has to say. Now, when she's doing this, she's going to hit you with some zingers because your wife knows you better than anybody else. And she's going to intuit exactly what's going on with you, and she's going to tell you where you're fucking up. Now, this isn't always true. There are situations where you're dealing with narcissism stuff, and she just wants to belittle you, just to belittle you. But this process still works. Now, the next step is going to be the pivot. Now, if it's something you did wrong, you're going to say, you're right. Tomorrow this isn't going to happen. Now, you can't just say it's not going to happen. You have to demonstrate what your pivot's going to be through action. She doesn't want lip service. She wants action. And she's going to be looking at your actions, and that's how she's going to judge you. Nobody's judged by their intentions. They're judged by how they actually show up in life. And so when you're here, and the pivot is, you're right, tomorrow at 4 o'clock, I've got an alarm. Look, I'm setting it on my phone right now. And this will remind me to make sure that I do the homework with the kids so that you don't have to think about it. I want you to be in a situation where you can just know that it's handled. And this is a lot of the problems with a lot of marriages is that she can't rely on things that are to be just handled. When a woman has children, this thing develops called the endless to-do list is what I call it. And it never ends. And when it does end and things get off of her list, she's just going to fill it with more things that aren't really that important. Generally, things that she wants to do, hobbies or something. Like maybe she'll decide she wants to make soap for whatever reason, or have chickens in the backyard. Whatever it is, this list was there and is always going to be there. And so you don't need to try to take responsibility for it, but you can make sure that it is managed properly so that when she does delegate something to you, or if you told her, hey, this is what I'm going to do, you delegate it to yourself. You can ensure that it is always handled 100% properly. So the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to hold firm to your word. Don't fuck it up. Make sure she can trust that you're actually going to do this. And you have to be 100% with your word, and you need to always be on point. Now, you're not going to be perfect. But the cool thing is, as long as you get this right more often than not, she'll start to trust you. She'll start to say, yes, I can rely on him. And then she won't have to feel like she manages you along with the kids. And that's usually a big gripe with wives, is that they're having to manage her husband and the kids, reminding him to do things. He's being forgetful. He can't really handle things. He doesn't clean the house. He doesn't feed himself if she's not around. He doesn't do his own laundry. And so he ends up becoming like this kid in the house as well. And so you as a man, you have to demonstrate that you take ownership of your life, and you know what's going on with the house. You know what's going on with the kids. And you have an idea of what's happening so that you can delegate properly in your relationship. And so that she feels like she has an active partner. Now, this can go in this way because roles, right? You get into a role, your wife takes her roles, and then you take your roles, and you get accustomed to these roles. But if you get so into a silo in your roles, you stop seeing where the other person is coming from, and that's the issue here. Now, if it's something you don't agree with, you can compromise. There's nothing wrong with compromising on preferences on the way you live your life. You should not compromise on boundaries, but if it's a preference, a boundary is going to be like, hey, I don't like you flirting with other guys. Like, that's a boundary. You're not going to compromise on a boundary, but you compromise on a preference. So she's like, well, I want the dishes this way in the dishwasher. And you're like, I like them this way. So you come up with a compromise on that. Like, who gives a shit? It's just the dishes, right? The ultimate goal is to get the dishes clean. She might say to you, you always do this in the dishwasher. You say, I hear that you believe that I'm always putting it this way in the dishwasher. Is this true? She's like, yeah. How does that make you feel? Well, it feels like you don't really care about how the dishes are cleaned. Well, how does that make you feel? It feels like you don't really give a crap how I think. Like, I want them clean and you don't really care about that. Yeah, I could see that. Well, from my perspective, it doesn't really matter to me how they go in there. They tend to come out the same cleanliness. Is it that important to you? If they come out the same, what's the goal here? What do we want? We want the dishes to come out clean, right? She's like, yeah. Well, can you compromise and not worry about the dishes as long as they come out clean? If they come out dirty, feel free to yell at me. But if they come out clean, can you say that, hey, I'm willing to let this go? She'll say, well, I guess I can. Right? And then you get to the end of it. And then she brings it up again and say, hey, we agreed. You don't get to tell me how to do the dishes. As long as they're clean, problem solved, right? So when you're having these conflicts, you're trying to work together to come to the solution. And you have to be objective in what that solution is. It cannot be something like that just benefits you or just benefits her. It has to be like, what is it that's good for the both of us, the relationship, the love of us together? If you can't do that, you're going to have a hard time with trying to actually come to a compromise, because she's going to be like, he's not hearing me, he's not seeing me, and he's not really trying to be interested in what's going on with me. And so after this whole thing, obviously, the last thing is you present the solution, and we've already talked about that a little bit. And so you present the solution after you've come up with a good compromise. But again, the emotional stuff she has to be led out of the emotional state first before you can get to the solution. Most guys want to just blurt the solution right out of the gate. And what that makes it look like is you don't really care. Because what she's trying to convey to you is why, the context of why this bothers her. And the context of why this bothers her is her expressing to you that she matters. Hey, you're not seeing me as mattering to you in this way. Can I demonstrate to you why that bothers me and why that hurts me, so that you have an opportunity to show me that I matter to you and to this family? And so guys don't always want to do that. They're like, I just want to get to the solution of the problem. I just want to get to the solution of the problem because that's what's going on. Yeah, the solution of the problem, yeah, she's upset because there's some part of her that thinks that she doesn't matter in some form or fashion. And so you have to get to the solution of the mattering before you get to the actual solution in real life, the 3 dimensions. All right, brother, in this video, you just saw what you can do to de-escalate conflict, no matter if it's a big one or if it's a small one, and what you can do to move forward with your relationship and solve problems so they don't keep coming up over and over and over again. If you found value in this video, hit the like button. And if you really want to see more of these videos, if this is something you want to see on a regular basis, hit the subscribe button. And I'll see you in the next one.